Okay. All right. So, before we begin, as promised, I am going to talk about this bimbo. Um, and I just realized, actually, I didn't even mention anything about Thailand, which is maybe I'll have to do a whole other stream because I did that very long stream talking about many things, 4.5 hours, but the sound quality was shitty, so probably not going to post that. I'll just have to do maybe another time. Um, Many aspects there to talk about. Actually, I should, well, some of you may have been there for that stream. I actually gave unique economic insights that probably, well, I'm sure you've never heard of before. I can guarantee you haven't. Um, but anyway, and there's many other things, going after the, exposing all the scammers on YouTube, all the bullshit, their little clickbait videos. Anyway, so let me get to the screen here, and there you have it. So, one of the first things you should do, okay, if you're going to take a look at a channel, take a look at the oldest videos. And if you see video games, then you know what you're dealing with, okay? And then you take a look at the channel, especially these types of channels that have this particular content, money and business and this and that. Take a look at the. This is why it's important to know who the fucking scammers are out there. And I can tell you, folks. I mean, just the genre alone. Like, look at the young and profiting. Do you think there's actually going to be anything credible? Young and profiting. And if you're following stupid stuff, you're just a fucking idiot. You're not going to go anywhere in your life. You're consuming low yield disinformation horseshit. And once again, this is the type of thing I've never even watched any of her dumb videos, by the way. But I can tell you, it's the type of thing, and I've talked about this. I wrote about it many, 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 many years ago. It's the type of thing that emphasizes the adverse impact of kingpins like Robert Kiyosaki. Right? It's from his type of bullshit, and you have layers upon layers upon layers of people who have spawned from the Robert Kiyosaki horseshit. By the way, right? Susie Orman, right? This whole like just horseshit fluff where you're not really learning anything from anyone credible. They're just bullshit artists and telling you how you can make money in this and this and selling folks. It's the people who ultimately are responsible for creating these fraudsters. The dumb, lazy, greedy people who thought that they didn't have to go to university, didn't have to work hard, and they can make money because they can go on YouTube and they can watch videos and they can attend conferences by these scammers and they can buy their courses. It doesn't work that way, dummy. It doesn't work that way. The only course that's going to be credible from these scammers is the one course they're never going to sell you. The only course they're qualified to make, and that is on how to become a scammer. That's the only course these motherfuckers on YouTube are qualified to make and sell to anybody. Okay? That's the reality. So you just take a look. This is why, once again, it's important to know who the scammers are because she's going to have up and coming scammers, right? But she pulls in the Dave Ramsey thing. Dave Ramsey. Oh, she's been on Dave Ramsey. Well, then she's an absolute. Not only she's not only potentially an accidental scammer. She's an outright. She knows she's a scammer. You all know Dave Ramsey's a fucking scam artist, right? You tell him I fucking said so. Remember, Dave Ramsey. By the way, Dave Ramsey's partnered up with Graham Stephan. Folks, think about that. Why doesn't anybody want to talk to me? They want to talk to people. Well, remember, the scammers out there, the reason why they form syndicates, they network with other scammers. They interview each other because their peers have a following of suckers. So it's an easy way to recruit more suckers. You interview another scammer, and you're going to automatically benefit from getting followers from that scammer. I mean, what do you think? They're going to not follow Graham Stephan anymore and follow Dave Ramsey instead? No. They're going to follow both of them. And this is why people are so stupid they can't break out of the fucking matrix of shit. Because they listen to their favorite scammer who ends up talking about or interviewing another scammer, so on and so forth. And so their whole list of people that they follow is the same bullshit. It's the same circle jerk. This is why so many people are so fucking clueless, and they don't even understand that's how the mechanism is designed. And then you add into all of that, the alternative mechanism is the scam tube algorithm. You watch Dave Ramsey, they're going to have on the algorithm Graham Stephan and Meet Kevin. And this minority mindset, another fucking scammer, genie in the bottle fucking clown. You understand? Folks, I guess if you didn't understand how that worked, okay, now that I've told you, if you don't really understand and understand the relevance of that and combat it all, you're just a fuck up in life. Really, you're just a fucking idiot. Of course, nobody else in the world has ever mentioned this, has ever pointed this out. Have they? Has anybody? No. How come I'm the only guy that, well, maybe it's the same reason why I was banned from the media from day one, because they knew I was too fucking bright, too honest to expose all the scams and scammers. Maybe that's why. And then, I don't have the right last name, so I'm not going to get any fucking benefit of the doubt. If I had the right last name, I'd get some coverage, guaranteed. Folks, I'm telling you, I know for a fact this is how it works. Me and my staff contacted everybody, even low yield guys, low entertainment, and I mean, I can tell you, I'm telling you, and you show them the proof that no, he's not one of them. No, It's not about the truth. It's about promoting agendas and empowering, enriching their own buddies. That's what you call a fucking mafia. And that's why you see so much control in the West, right? Take a look at who all the reporters are, who all the talking heads are in every genre. Take a close fucking look. Now, if you want to tell me I'm wrong, well, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck? You're not a world-class research analyst. You don't have an Ivy League education, a very intense background in academia that shows you know how to fucking think. Who the fuck are you? You're somebody that's probably got a dog in the fight. Capiche? Right? You all understand how it works? People want to flap their mouths. This is why I say, folks, put your money where your fucking mouth is, or shut your fucking mouth. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is on just about everything. And when it comes to these things like that, you better damn well believe it. I mean, I'm more willing to do that than I am with things that are, because it's easy to prove this stuff, right? Like, if you tell me, well, all you got to do is do the legwork. It's all there. And in fact, Well, actually, I've already tried to do this. Remember, AI has programmer bias. Programmer bias. The coders, who do you think they are? Who do you think the head guys determining, right? This is why so many of these AI programs you've seen early on are DEI based. Okay? What I'm trying to say is that I was going to say, well, with AI now, you've got an ability to more quickly obtain this data. But actually, it's not true because I've already tried it. And in reality, if AI doesn't specifically see that a person is of a certain background, if they don't see that printed somewhere, it's not going to report that. In fact, they're going to say they're not. However, I don't need to go to Wikipedia to know if someone is of a certain background. There are many, many ways to do it. And that's, the higher level of intellect that AI doesn't have and won't have for a very, very long time. That's why it's called AI, artificial intelligence. Unfortunately, for most people in the world, it's higher intelligence than them. So let's take a look here. Take a look. We already see Dave Ramsey. Now, Dave Ramsey, in case you don't know, I haven't done a whole thing on this guy, Dave Ramsey. I don't really need to. It's pretty simple. The guy comes out. He's got a hillbilly. He's an honest guy because he's a hillbilly. He's down to earth. I trust him. He sounds like a down to earth guy. He's not a fast talker like Jim Cramer, but news fucking flash. He's related to Jim Cramer. That's right. He's related to Jim Cramer. Why the fuck do you think he's promoted in the media? That's right. But you say, well, what are you talking about? He's a Christian. He's a God-fearing Christian. Right? Well, so is Benny Hinn. But take a close look at who Benny Hinn is. So is Joel Osteen. Take a close look at who Joel Osteen is. And as a matter of fact, I'm willing to bet that probably sometime in the past, he probably changed the spelling of his last name a little bit, just by one letter, just to make it, But, and as I said before, folks, you're going to write a book on how to expose scams and scammers. I keep giving all my golden rules, right? Somebody's compiled a list, I think, at some point. Give me credit, you motherfucker. Give me credit, because I'm the guy that's done all the fucking legwork. It should be an obvious scammer to you when they're coming out. Anyone who comes out and couples anything related to monetary gains or success with religion. Most notably, you see this with money. Investments in religion. Anyone who does that is an absolute fucking scammer. Okay? First and foremost, now I'm not a religious person. I think it's very difficult to be a Christian, like a practicing Christian American, if you grew up in America and see how disgusting it's become. It's a money fucking worshiping cult is what it is. It's disgusting and what's happened to Christianity in America, right? So I'm not a religious person for that reason, okay? Because I think it's become a total scam, at least in America. But I have to believe that God, right? I have to believe that the Bible, if the Bible could speak, if God, well, I guess some people say that God talks to them, right? Joel Osteen, all these guys, they claim God talks to them. I have to believe that, based upon what I know about Christianity, that God wouldn't be happy when you have a person using the name of Christianity, of religion, to couple that with money. I have to believe that's sacrilegious. Am I wrong there for any of you people who are, know a lot about religion? I have to believe that's very fucking evil. Anybody? Right? I mean, in fact, I don't know this. I've just heard this, kind of read this over time. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I've never read the Bible, and one reason is because, like, I don't know. There's like, how many versions are there? It's like, it's like it kind of seems like, what's going on. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, well, I mean, Christianity, Bible, and then like, oh, it's in Hebrew. Oh, who wrote the book? What's going on here? It's all a little fuzzy to me. But anyway, am I wrong? Wasn't there a problem with money? Like, didn't Jesus say something about, chase the money worshippers out of the area, out of the marketplace or something? Isn't there? Does anybody know what I'm talking? I remember something about that. Something about there was an issue with people that were focusing on money, and apparently Jesus didn't like that for some reason. I don't know the story, but is that not true? Am I wrong? Someone correct me, please. Is that, anybody know? I'm just trying to see if there was a precedent, according to the Bible, with people who are kind of focusing on money, and it seems like, right? So anyway, Dave Ramsey is a scammer, not only because clearly that's an obvious sign. It's not even a red flag. It's a fucking white flag. It's a surrender flag. He surrenders and he admits he's a scammer. He's coupling religion with money. Okay? And by the way, let me just mention something I've noticed over the years. Typically, when you see people who are egregious in doing that, they're typically not actually real Christians. And you might want to look into all I'm going to say, and you could look into it. I already exposed this. I mean, I don't think I have publicly exposed it, but I have the files. I uncovered this about close to 20 years ago. So all I'm going to say is take a look into, you may have heard of the dating site, Christian this, Christian farmer, Christian this, Christian Filipina, Christian that. Okay, they had this whole like series of Christian, like for different, different like topics to suck people in. Okay, and I even remember seeing, because this is what I knew there was a problem. I remember seeing on the website like many years ago, I saw like how they had some Christian preacher like talking, or like they had some, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like they're commingling this stuff, and I knew right then there's a problem. This is when I looked into it. So look into who actually runs those companies, who the people are. FYI, that's how you can tell when you see Christianity being hoarded out like that for money. Then you know they're not real Christians. In fact, oftentimes they're actually kind of antithesis to Christians, if you know what I mean. Look into it. I haven't looked into it in years. I mean, I already know. I moved on. I probably should do a video on it to show it, to expose it all. I already know. But so Dave Ramsey, if you look into it, I mean, I've spent literally 10 minutes in my life looking at this guy. It's so obvious what he does. Okay, if I spent the time, if I listened to his content, I could probably write a book on such terrible advice. But what he does, essentially, it's just so obvious. I mean, I know enough to know that the guy's a fraud. One of the things he'll do is he'll tell you, and the problem is that if you're comparing him to other people, then he seems like a legit guy. For instance, if you compare him to Peter Schiff, right here, I can see where people think he's legit. But it's kind of like, if they're not credible, they're not credible. Having someone who's less credible, but still fucking you, still giving you bad advice, bad information, it doesn't make them better. They just have a different spin, a different grift. You see? Dave Ramsey's grift, and let me tell you what he does, by the way. He buys airtime. Or, I don't know if he does today. Probably still. But the whole business model, people understand, you buy airtime across the country. That's what you do. Kind of like what Kevin Trudeau did on the TV. You buy airtime. They sell slots. And so how it makes sense is that you buy airtime on the radio. And so that's why you can tell, basically, if they control the ads, right? You can tell they're the ones providing the ads. So they contract through and get their own advertisers. That's how they make the money to pay for the broadcast, you see? And so for a guy like Dave Ramsey, hell, if he breaks even, it's a fucking huge gain because he's pulling in new suckers to sell his bullshit to. In fact, he could stand to lose money and still make a lot of money. So they buy the airspace. Why? Well, to scam people, to pitch their bullshit. But the problem is that it looks like, oh, well, Dave Ramsey must be an expert. That he's all over the radio. You know, he's buying that airtime. Okay? He's buying the airtime. And he's making money through ads to cover the costs. But the big payday is getting all that exposure. He can pitch you his bullshit. So you think that go to one of his live broadcasts. You get the dumbest fucking idiots there. You have people like some guy named Coach Steve. He's got coaches there. Oh, I'm a coach. I'm an official Dave Ramsey coach, and they have IQ of like 3. It's you got the dumbest fucking people that follow Dave Ramsey. Okay. And this is what he wants, because he wants you to be dumb. Folks, scammers want the dumbest people. They're the easiest to scam because they're too stupid to know anything, to know any better, and your level of expertise can be 0. You don't need to know anything. Like, I'm the highest level up there. So I want, I'm the guy that's raising people to the top. You understand? This is how you can tell when someone goes after low-hanging fruit. You know they're a scammer. Why is that? Well, if you're an expert, why aren't you giving unique insights like that you can't get anywhere else? If you're not giving unique insights, you're useless. You're generic. You're reading something and fucking regurgitating it. I want to hear from world-class experts who's going to fucking give me unique knowledge and insights so I can outcompete everybody else. That's what you should want in everything. Okay? But virtually nobody does that. Unless it's like complete crackpot bullshit like Robert Kiyosaki. And in some cases, Peter Schiff, right? The things that they say. So, what Dave Ramsey does, so I've told you how his part of his business model operates, right? And so what he does, he gets you to fall for his bullshit. He's got a cult. He's following their cult members. So gets you to come to his little get out of debt thing. And it's just basically, it's all common sense. Folks, if you're selling stuff that's like common sense, and it's just generic, that in and of itself is a scam. Okay? Fact. Okay? He ties you into, so he'll tell you stuff that, oh, well, how can you say that he's not credible? He tells you how to get out of debt. You don't use your credit card. You don't go to Starbucks. Okay, that's credible? That's an expert? You understand. So that's kind of that's the hook. They get hooked in by that. Then he goes into other things. Oh, buy mutual funds. No, buy mutual funds. Buy front load mutual funds. He recommends that. You know why? Because he's got guys in his little network. See, Dave Ramsey's one big affiliate fucking scammer. Affiliate marketing is a fucking scam. You all know that, right? It's fraud. Every single company that has a business model on affiliate marketing is a fucking scam in some way, shape, or form. Are they an outright scam? Maybe, maybe not. Are they scammy? Yes. Now, take a look. What's the big affiliate marketing? It depends upon the genre on YouTube, right? The travel vloggers, it's all the same thing. Safety Wing, travel insurance, right? What's the other one? I can't remember. But Safety Wing, the other one now, the hot one now is Wise, right? It used to be Transfer Wise. Think about it for a second. if you want health insurance, travel insurance, I mean, Safety Wing, let's like, I could make up a company called, Super Wing. It's my company. Where am I getting the insurance services from? I'm a fucking vendor. I'm going to the big insurance guys to do all the underwriting. That's what Safety Wing does. They don't fucking underwrite. You understand? They're a middleman. So they're not going to have the best product. And or it's going to be too expensive. Go direct. Go to Cigna. That's the best global expat insurance. Cigna. Okay? Boom, motherfucking boom. You got a lot of fucking value there I gave you for free. No one's going to promote that. You know why? They don't have an affiliate program. Okay? Wise, TransferWise, another bullshit service. Folks, who's going to give you the best exchange rate? Generally speaking. Some little fucking TransferWise. I mean, excuse me. Where do you think they're going through banks? You understand that, right? They're going through financial institutions to get their currency exchanges. So they're another middleman. You got it? This is all common sense. Right? So anyway, just want to mention that. Any affiliate link you should suspect is a scam. Think about it. They got to pay those affiliate fucking fraudsters somehow. You can think of it. A great example you won't forget. FTX. FTX. Click the link now. FTX. We'll give you $100. Where are they getting that money from? They're going to fuck you royal. Robinhood. Yeah. All these fucking pieces of shit on YouTube pitching the Robinhood link, and they found out later on. People still don't even realize the ramifications. Robinhood was fucking them, selling their order flow. Not only selling order flow, but selling it in a way that really fucked the shit out of them. They're selling the data to the hedge funds that buy the order flow so they can really front run the fuck out of their execution price. Okay, anyway. That's a little intro to the affiliate marketing scam. Real companies with real successful businesses don't need affiliate marketing. Okay? Do you see JP Morgan Chase have affiliate links on YouTube channels? No. You see Charles Schwab? No. What you see is scammy companies that are getting people to influence people to sign up because they're not wisely making a consumer decision. They're signing up because the influencer told them to, right? They're scamming them. You understand? Anyway, so Dave Ramsey, he's been in the whole affiliate game for a very long time. You go to his website, maybe I'll do it sometime. You can go right now, and you'll see all the, fuck it, let me just do it right now. What the hell? What the hell? I wasn't even going to talk about Dave Ramsey. This was not planned, by the way, obviously. But since we're talking about scams and scam artists, okay. So, and by the way, experts. Did you see that? Where's the experts? What? The menu changed. Did you see that experts pop up there? Speaking of experts, you all know they had that one fat black dude who was, I remember he was, the media was promoting him as some, he's a Ramsey expert or whatever. And like he had to get booted because he had some controversy. Anyway, so look at this. Look, they don't even give you a choice. Like all sites will be like, "Oh, do you accept or decline?" Look at this motherfucker. Doesn't give you a choice. What a fucking scammer. He's selling your data, obviously. So, take a look. Insurance. So he has all the areas covered, right? So the deal is this. Dave Ramsey, and by the way, you might recall, Meet Kevin, the scam artist, piece of garbage, admitted he bought into Dave Ramsey's real estate leads. Meet Kevin Pathrath, the scammer who claims he's so successful in real estate, yet he's buying real estate leads from a known scammer. Does that make sense to you? Right? No, I'm sorry. Successful people aren't buying leads from some fucking scammer. So what happens here is you're going to type in a zip code, and so it's going to go to a trusted agent. What Ramsey doesn't tell you, let's see what he has in the disclaimers here. Jesus Christ. You got to go all the way down here. What he's not going to tell you, I mean, no one's going to go down there, is that he's getting paid. These are only trusted by Ramsey because he's getting money from them. That's not trusted. That's payola. That's an affiliate marketing relationship, which, according to the Federal Trade Commission, you've got to disclose up front. You can look that up on your own. Okay? All of these things are affiliate marketing. Okay? And so when Dave Ramsey comes out and tells people, like, the worst investment advice, which I didn't even think people were selling front-ended mutual funds now. I thought that was like a dinosaur. But, you got people like Peter Schiff selling it, of course, because, do you want to just say more? Front load funds, by the way, I never even sold them when I was in the industry. I thought they were a fucking scam. Front-loaded funds, they're known as A shares. What that means, you pay a sales fee up front to buy it. So let's say you're going to buy $100,000 in a mutual fund. It's an A share, front-loaded. You're going to pay up front $5,000. So off the top, $5,000 goes to the broker. You're investing $95,000. There's back-end loaded, usually, I don't know, maybe 4% or so. That's when you sell the fund. You got to pay. It's a little bit smaller percentage just because why? Well, think about it. If you've had the fund for a while, it performs decently, it's going to have appreciated. They're going to get a huge cut. And then you have C shares, which is really the standard. That's where there's no load, but you're paying an annual fee, right? Don't ever pay for C shares unless you got a financial advisor you can talk to. That's typically 1%. Okay? Or is it 2%? I'm confusing like what the payout is to the broker versus the gross payout for the customer. Is it 2%? I'm thinking it's 2% actually. I think it's 2%. I don't know. It could have changed. Anyway, you all understand the point, right? And what they're going to tell you, the whole sales pitch is going to be, oh, well, if you get a front-end load here, you don't have to pay any fees anymore. And your yearly fee's tiny, right? Folks, that's all bullshit, okay? Don't ever buy a loaded fund. The big scam now, of course, a lot of people already know this with the increased popularity of index funds. The bigger scam that people don't realize, which they should, has been around a long time, Kathy Wood's involved in it, is the active ETFs. You see, ETFs were created first and foremost, why? To have lower fees. To have very low fees. Why? Because ETFs were originally created as a passive investment tool. They were originally created to mimic the indexes. But as with always the case, when you got Wall Street involved, you got the parasites looking for more ways to make more money. They swing the door open, all kinds of varieties of ETFs, 3 times inverse leverage, all this fucking risky bullshit. And then, of course, you've got the managed ETFs. It's like, wait a second. So why do I want a managed ETF? I'll just get a mutual fund. The whole point was to get something of low fee that was passive to mimic the indexes. But you're not hearing this, are you? The media's not going to tell you all this, are they? Right? So, essentially, the whole purpose was to, reduce the fees of mutual funds. But what's happened is that these actively managed ETFs now are approaching the same fees. Okay? They're approaching the same fees. So that's another bullshit scam. But anyway, so what Dave Ramsey does, he tells you to buy front-loaded mutual funds. Why? Well, think about it. Dave Ramsey's getting a cut of the money from any of the suckers, any of all the suckers who buy into his affiliate marketing scam. They want a financial advisor. They go here and they look for, what am I, right here. And they will be teamed up with a financial advisor, one of his trusted advisors, right? One of his trusted advisors. For those of you who, maybe I'll just relabel this, Dave Ramsey, I don't know, because I don't know, Peter Zeihan, we'll get to him. And those of you who want to comment, I can't see, what are you talking about this for? Shut the fuck up. I'm the expert, bitch. See, I'm so fucking good. I don't need to like plan and take notes and, okay, we're going to talk about Peter today. I see stuff, boom, motherfucking boom. I'm able to deliver unique, high-level insight just like that because I'm that fucking sharp and I'm that knowledgeable. Got it? Boom, motherfucking boom. Embrace it. Appreciate it. Thank me for it. Okay? Sit down. Shut up. You got it? Minion, I'm talking to the fucking idiots who don't know who the fuck I am and how I roll. Okay? I'm looking for more. You're taking too much time. Mama. That's the YouTube audience, the typical YouTube audience, right? The dipshits are going nowhere. 98, 99% of the YouTube audience. So get the guide. Okay. And then that's the hook, line, and sinker. Right? Investing the Ramsey way. Okay. So, he's just going to tell you basic shit that's, because well, how can you say he's a scam? Look, he's telling you to invest 50% of your income and, diversify and long-term. Okay. I don't need Dave Ramsey to write that to make him valuable. Dave Ramsey just got that from like some book, and he didn't even get that. That was created by one of his staff, by the way. Okay? Dave Ramsey has never been a financial advisor, I don't believe. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. You understand? Hook, line, and sinker. That's the hook to get you into his network. And remember, he tells you his guys, he advises front-loaded funds. Why? Because these guys who are going to pay Ramsey, they say, look, Dave, we can give you more money if you get people to buy our A shares, our front-loaded funds. Oh, okay. You understand. That's the scam. That's what's going on. Nobody's selling A shares. That's like annuities these days. It's as bad as annuities, okay? Anybody selling A shares and pushing A shares, you run for the fucking hills. Or, back end, which were B shares. So anyway, so that's the first problem. And then he'll tell you, I've heard him say, oh, well, they say, well, mutual funds don't beat the index. My guys do. Mine do. That's what he says. And I'm saying, okay, Dave, what are those? Show me the funds. What are they? Right? He can't produce it. Dave Ramsey is a con artist. He's a con artist. He throws in the religion thing, right, to hook all the religious zealots. Bad information, affiliate marketing, horse shit. Okay? So, this wasn't about Ramsey, but I had felt the need to go over that. He gives a lot of other shitty advice, by the way. You can just look it up. People have covered this guy. It's just so obvious. This fucking clown. So, where are we here? So then you got Peter Schiff. Look. Peter Schiff explains why Bitcoin continues his whole, this fucking loser. By the way, Peter Schiff, and I'm not a gold guy. I'm not a Bitcoin guy. But, gold is, gold can be somewhat legitimate if you trade it as an investment transaction, not an investment, a transaction. If you know when to buy it, when to sell it. That means you don't buy physical gold. That means you're trading the ETFs, right? Or during some cases, during certain situations, if you know what you're doing, same with oil, you can get involved in futures contracts and make a shitload of money. But if you're doing that on a daily basis, you're going to fucking just lose your ass. But anyway, my point is that Peter Schiff And all the gold pumpers, the gold pumping crime syndicate, that's what I call them, they're so pissed off because Bitcoin achieved what Peter Schiff and his syndicate of gold pumpers tried to do for so long. They tried pumping gold. Gold is, dollar's going to collapse, hyperinflation, buy gold. Gold is your savior. Gold is real money. You all know, right? I covered all this in hundreds of fucking videos and articles many years ago. And this is where I learned a lot of the basic principles of how the scammers operate, by the way, through observing, exposing the gold pumping crime syndicate. Because all these movements act the same. It's all effectively the same. So Bitcoin achieved what the gold pumpers wanted to achieve, and that is mainstream use in terms of buying it, right? A lot of people buy Bitcoin, right? It's got so much more traction than gold. So I think it's pretty funny. I love it. It's hilarious. Even though the fact is that Bitcoin is a complete fucking scam, no doubt about it. But the reality is that gold and silver, the way they are being positioned, are largely a scam. In other words, they're getting people to buy gold and silver for the wrong reasons with disinformation. As a result of that, from that aspect, it's a scam. Okay? But anyway, Peter Schiff, how smart entrepreneurs and investors preserve wealth during financial crisis. I mean, this girl, please contact this girl and tell her Peter Schiff's customers lost more during the financial crisis than the S&P. He got everything wrong. You've seen the videos I made. I think one I entitled Peter Schiff, the King of Wealth Destruction, right? Showing my video. I've shown his funds performance. Complete fucking disaster. I mean, are you kidding me? This girl's a fucking idiot, but you see, she doesn't care. That's what I was talking about in the other stream. What did I say? I said, these people on ScamTube, what they care about is they want to partner with other people with sucker lists. Peter Schiff's got a sucker list, his followers. She wants to recruit them into her little bullshit. You understand? That's why she's promoting Peter Schiff. Same thing with Dave Ramsey. She wants those subscribers. She wants to get their sucker lists. Same thing with Dave Ramsey and Graham Stephan. You see? Even if Dave Ramsey, even if I had never talked shit about Dave Ramsey, okay? Dave Ramsey wouldn't want to interview me, okay? Because I'm invisible. I can't benefit him. I don't have a bunch of followers. You understand? That's how they work. You got to understand that. It's not about the truth. It's not about credibility. They don't need the truth. They don't need expertise. If they got the followers, they've created the cult. They've created the perception. You understand? That's how it works. So she's got these up-and-coming scammers on her channel. She's clearly a scammer, no doubt about it. Oh, here we go. Here's Tom. Tom Billy, fucking con man. Looks like Tim Sykes. Yes, of course, you know they're related. Boom, motherfucking boom. Here we go. Genie in a bottle fucking scammer. You see? Look at this fucking guy. I mean, would you trust anything this guy has to say? Would you really? I don't know this guy. I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone says. I don't trust the guy. Anyone who looks like this with these glasses there's something not right. Okay? He's probably some type of a charlatan pitching something. In fact, he's probably a Joe Rogan guy. I'm willing to bet he's a Joe Rogan guy Okay, let's see. Joe Rogan. In fact, I mean, this guy might be Joe Rogan too. Uh, this genie in a bottle dude, Jaspreet Singh. Let's see. Is it Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan. See, that's the thing, folks. If you see someone like the Tom Billy, Tom Billy's got a lot of subscribers. Why? Joe Rogan. Boom. You check Joe Rogan. Yep. Oh, what am I doing? Seth Godin. Is that his name? Yeah. Oh, there you go. Our other scam artist, Tim Ferriss, who I exposed a while back. Tim Ferriss, the fake Amazon fake reviews scam artist. You know, the 4-hour work week, the guy that created the whole digital nomad movement with fucking lies. You want to see how a guy made tens of millions of dollars gaming the Amazon review system? Go on, check out the 4-hour work week. Make sure and read the 1 and 2 star reviews. Total fraud this guy is. Tell him I said so. Tim Ferriss, the fraud. And of course, you know, he's related to all these guys, by the way. Have you noticed that, like, seems like all these fucking scammers are, like, always, like, related? What's going on here? What's the deal? What's the fucking deal? Does anybody in the world want to challenge me on a neutral platform for fucking money? You understand? For money. Put your money where your mouth is or shut your fucking mouth. You got it? Boom, motherfucking boom. Okay, I don't see him on Joe Rogan. Which, a little strange because Joe Rogan, you know, he's related to Rogan, so why isn't he on the show? Just most of Rogan's people are so related to him. Maybe I'll do a thing on. Well, I already talked about Ferris before. Total fucking scam artist. What the guy is, piece of shit. And by the way, yeah, I did a little experimenting with Ferris. Ferris, what he's doing now. Sign up for his little newsletter, whatever. He sends you email. He's pitching nutritional bullshit, just like Joe Rogan. What did I say about nutritional supplements? One of my golden rules, folks. Remember that? Anybody pitching nutritional supplements, they're a fucking scammer. Okay? Write it the fuck down. The nutritional supplement industry is one of the biggest frauds in the world for many reasons. Anybody associated with it. In fact, Tim Ferriss, that's how he first made his money, running a nutritional supplement scam. That's right. Back a long time ago, 25 years ago or so, when you had all these false claims. Oh, brain enhancement, become smarter. Right? So he's still pitching that shit. See, Tim Ferriss, what he's been trying to do, I believe, I don't follow him, but what I think is that he got such a bad reputation. I mean, a lot of people know he's a fucking scammer. His little 4-hour this, 4-hour chef, 4-hour body, where he uses like, what is it? What's the Adobe editing program? I got such brain farts going on. You know, you can just see it. He's like before and after. I mean, this guy is such a fucking fraud. Total fucking fraud. He gamed the whole fake review system, formed a cult, and then he's launching his little series of books because he's already got. Remember, folks, if you get enough exposure, there's so many stupid people in the world that even if you get a small percentage, you're going to make a shitload of money and you're going to have a cult. The key is exposure. And this explains why you've got so many fucking idiot, obvious dildo, contrarian indicator con artists out there who have large following because they got the exposure. Meanwhile, there's a lot of people that know that they're scammers, but it doesn't matter. You see? That's how it works. So, anyway, you can just go through and check this scam. Oh, let's see. See if he's been on Joe Rogan. Not yet. I have to believe he'll be on there. Because Minority Mindset, Genie and the Bottle Guy, he's paying a lot of money to promote himself. It's pretty obvious. I've seen him in all these like mainstream media little posts where, so it's clear I know what's going on. He's going through some PR firms and paying to get ad placement articles. He's trying to be like a personal finance guy. You see, so he's paying for this. That's what the media does. They're going to promote you if you pay for articles, right? That's what Robert Kiyosaki does. Grant Cardone, right? Kevin O'Leary. You see, it's media fraud, of course, but okay. So here we go. We're gonna move into the feature, and that is, now this guy I haven't looked into at all, but I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet, not a lot of money, just my first of all, I mean, if he's having a scammer on like Peter Zeihan, then you know there's something that's questionable about the guy. I haven't even looked at his channel to see who else he's had on. But I'm willing to bet a small amount of money without looking into him. He's probably a bullshit artist / like, depends upon how you define scammer. Certainly a deceitful bullshit artist who would at the very least promote scammers as a way to grow his channel, and then so he can grift. You understand? I don't know. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and take a look at his channel. Let's see who he's had on there before we take a look at the video here. I mean, another thing, by the way, that kind of tips me off is he's calling himself Professor G, the Prof G. So if you're a professor, that's like a professor who calls himself doctor. Professors don't call themselves doctors unless they're charlatans, by the way. Okay? You all know that, right? So I guess he's some professor. He's calling himself Professor G. I don't care if you're a professor. If you're doing that, you're kind of a charlatan. That's my opinion as a scam expert detector. Okay. So let's take a look. What does he have here? And also, I mean, what active professor has got a YouTube channel? Unless it's like, okay, if you've got videos of lectures that you're giving, very strictly academic, you understand. But if you're becoming like a podcasting guy, I mean, podcast, in my view, probably you guys don't realize this because, but in my view, I'm not saying it's always true, but when I hear the term podcaster, like if you're a podcaster, that's already kind of like shades of gray, potential bullshit, right? So if you're a professor, like, why are you spending your time kind of, outside of your academic field of expertise? Like, okay, have a podcast. You're a psychiatrist. Have a podcast on discussing psychiatry, or, you're a economist. Have a podcast discussing economics, right? You all understand. These are academicians, right? They're not going to engage in like cheesy bullshit unless they're a fucking scammer. You understand? Exactly. Marketer, same thing. When I hear the term marketer, I think of scams. It's kind of a creepy feeling. I've always felt that way. Okay? Always. So let's take a look. I don't know what type of professor he is. Okay. So when a guy, folks, legitimate, honest professors aren't going to like. You notice he's got a little. He's bragging. I'm a best-selling author. They don't do that. Okay, business leader. I mean, you can tell from his little YouTube bio he's a scammer, and I'll bet a lot of money on it. Okay, and I'm talking. I'll fucking go to court on it. Okay, he's a scammer, no doubt about it. It's pretty obvious. The question is, to what extent is he scamming? I don't know, but I can tell here just from the way he's trying to position himself. Right, he's trying. So in other words, he's trying to con you. The con is being set up. Professor G, best-selling author, business leader. I mean, what is the business leader? What does that mean? You can be a business leader. I'm a business leader. I mean, what the fuck is that? Serial. Oh my, folks, wasn't it just recently, a couple of days ago, that I said people who call themselves serial entrepreneurs, that's a fucking signal right there. In fact, I remember I was on that guy's website, Stone, the affiliate for Patrick Bet-David, Millionaire Mentor. Remember that? Anybody that calls themselves a serial entrepreneur, that's another signal right there. Who does that? That's something maybe that someone would describe you if they're going to interview you, right? But you don't call yourself that. You understand? Anyway. So, and of course, he's loaded up with social media. I mean, you see this? I'm going to look into this guy at some point if I think about it. Okay, I don't know what type of professor he is. I want to see his publications. What is he doing, right? But we don't need to look at that right now. What are we looking at? Well, of course, he's going to talk about Israel, Iran. Why? Well, you know what side of the fence he's on. You know that, right? It's pretty obvious. Should be. I can guarantee you I know. He's going to be pro-Israel, right? And you know why? He's an Israeli firster, right? So let's see what he's got here. Everything. He's an expert in everything, okay? So he's trying to be some type of a, he wants to be a voice of reason. He was one of these podcasting guys that talks about current events, right? That's what he's doing. So I don't know. I see deceit right now. I see a lot of deceit. I see all the signs telling me the guy is, I don't know if he's scamming right now, but clearly he's setting up for the scam. I mean, I can assure you that. I don't know if he's doing anything right now, right? So maybe he's waiting for that. I don't know. Let's wait. But if you're promoting scammers, clearly, why are you doing that? Right? He wants to suck in that audience that this guy has. So let's take a look now. Let's see what he's got here. Okay. Okay, so he's not. So far, I don't see. He doesn't have the affiliate links. Doesn't have his course. He's not. He's not as obvious as Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson's getting on the. Oh, here's my tour, my speaking tour, right? But don't think this guy's not shooting for that. That's what I'm saying. Okay, I've been around long enough to know how this shit works, and I'm just telling you, I see enough issues here to see that this guy is already thinking about how he's going to capitalize on this. But we'll just see. You can follow him. That's not the issue, though. I don't know about this guy. Okay, that's just my initial impression without knowing anything. I just know what you all have seen. The topic is Peter Zeihan. The reason why I wanted to show you this, we're not going to play this video. I'm not going to waste anybody's time on this garbage. I've talked about this guy before. This is another example of one of these guys. For instance, the YouTubers, they'll tell you, oh yeah, I watched Peter Zeihan. They all go to the YouTube. They think it's legit. Okay. So apparently this is a guy who calls himself an expert in geopolitics. And this is a guy who he's been talking about the collapse of China now for the better part of 20 years. He's kind of like Gordon Chang, right? These guys have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Gordon Chang wrote a book in 2000 before China was even in the fucking World Trade Organization, saying they're going to collapse. They peaked out. they hadn't even fucking soared yet. Gordon Chang is and think about it, folks. China, every day, Gordon Chang is getting publicity. You know why? Because half of his bloodline is Chinese. The other half is boom motherfucking boom. Okay, think about that. I'm the real expert on China. I don't know of anybody out there who's got the track record on China that I do. Not just the trade and all these things predicting. I'm talking about the investment side. Okay? And I'm banned. This is why, folks, this is why it's important to understand what I'm talking about, understand who I am, my track record, my credibility, and then you'll see what's going on. People aren't getting experts. They're getting fucking idiots. And just about all of them are related to the guys that promote them. That's what you call a fucking mafia. A criminal fucking mafia set out to deceive and defraud people. Okay? And when we're talking about politics, to get you to support attacking a country that's done nothing. Whether it's Palestine or Iran. You understand? So let's take a look now. What I wanted to show you, because I actually looked through this, I was curious to see, and it's encouraging to me. It's very encouraging to see. The reason why I wanted to show you this is because it's so overwhelming. The comments, everybody's calling this guy out. I'm encouraged for humanity to see that so many people realize this guy's full of shit. So take a look. We're going to take a look at the comments here. Okay. I probably left one or two here. Let's see. So here's a so this guy's saying the comments are all bots. Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Look at this. I found this video because it was a sponsored recommendation by YouTube. And since the channel had to pay someone for visibility, I immediately looked for the comment section, and boy, was there no surprise. Wow, I didn't see that comment before. That's classic. You see that? So this person obviously understands the basics of media and promotion. This video apparently was a sponsored video, right? So who paid for that? Professor G did. Fucking clown. Tell Professor G, anytime he wants to go up against me on anything, I'm willing. Tell folks, go out there, contact all these motherfuckers and tell them you already know they're afraid. Because I'm the big swinging dick. They're afraid. They won't do it. Ever. So take a look here at the comments. This dude's a clown. Yep. Okay. I've been listening to Zeihan for years. He gets nothing right. Look at this. 451 replies. So true. They talk about his track record here, what he's getting wrong. Right. There we go. Glad to see not everyone is on YouTube is clueless. Zeihan is a clown posing as an expert like all these YouTube gurus. Boom, motherfucking boom. This guy speaks with 100% authority and 0% accuracy. That's right. He's a pseudo-intellectual. That's what they do. He's a storyteller, but for adults, okay? He likes to exaggerate. He says collapse when it should be downward trend. I'm wondering if he's ever been right about anything. Just read these comments. Like, everybody knows this guy's a fucking clown. That's great. I'm so happy to see that. Look at this guy. He's the most brilliant geopolitical forecaster, period. Bar none. Okay. This is a guy, by the way, and I haven't even, if I spent time to look into all the disinformation this guy says, it would be, and by matter of fact, I think some people have exposed him already, so I'm not going to waste my time. Go on YouTube, because they're going to talk about some of the things that he's talked about that are complete fucking horse shit. I'm not going to waste my time. It's too low level, really. So you can just read all these. It's pretty funny. I'm not going to go through that 451. We'll just go down the list more. Doom forecasting on China has made a good living for this guy. You see that? This guy knows what's up. You see that? Broken clock logic, basically. You can read that. Peter Zeihan said in 2008, saying China had at most a few years left. It would not make it to the 2020s. Now, here's the caveat here. I don't think China. I think China's best days are behind it. It's pretty obvious to me, and I've been researching China for more than 20 years. And once again, I have various aspects, not only the economics, and I've been spot on with just about everything with China, the investment aspects as well. I predicted the boom. I recommended China. I predicted the bust, and actually I advised people to get back into China at the very bottom at the end of 2008. And I also predicted the bust several years ago with China. So, and that was really the beginning of the end. When I'm saying the end, I mean like the end of its booming days. Was effectively, definitively, when Trump won. Okay, so from there you could tell it's going to be kind of a gradual downward spiral. Then COVID hit, and then you could see many more things. And then this was what, ultimately, you have to understand how the Communist Party of China operates. But ultimately, they're in deep, 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 deep trouble. I'm not going to get into that. But even myself, knowing much more than this Peter fucking clown, even I'm not going to say, I don't know when. I believe the CCP was not going to last, but I can't tell you when. Because it could be tomorrow or it could be in 20 or 30 years. Nobody knows. Because what's going to take them down is a high level of social unrest that reaches a certain threshold. And that's going to take a lot. That's ultimately what's going to do it. I'm not going to get into all that, okay? But, and a lot of that depends upon where they're going to go. Where's the Politburo going to go with Xi Jinping? Are they going to, kind of, is he going to, be done in a couple of years and they replace him or what? We don't know. Or, he can't go on forever. Who's going to be after him, right? So, it's hard to tell. I just can tell you for certain, there's no doubt about it. China's best days are behind it. There's no doubt about that. And I have other forecasts that I think China basically is like I said, its best days are ahead of it. I'm sorry, behind it. And in fact, China's actually been living its so-called economic growth since 2009. It's been fueled by debt. You see? So I'm not going to get into an analysis of China. I know it very well. I was actually warning people in my research as early as 2010 or 11 about the way that the securities market works in China, such that the Communist Party of China owns those companies effectively. And then I warned about Alibaba early on, many times thereafter. Okay, so leading up to, in fact, about 3 years ago, when I came out on ScamTube before the channel was terminated, and basically said, look, you get all these idiots that are following Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger was pumping Alibaba, and I said, look, I mean, this is fucking ridiculous. The risk is extremely high, so on and so forth. And you had idiots that wanted me to look bad because I exposed them as scammers. Oh, he's telling Charlie Munger. Oh, who does he think he is? Well, I'm better than Charlie Munger. I'm better than Warren Buffett. That's why I got the financial crisis. I predicted it. They missed it. You got it? Right? Oh, he says, oh! Yeah, well, guess what? Warren Buffett made all his money before your ass was in fucking diapers, before you were born, back in the 50s, back in the 60s, back in the 70s, in private equity. We don't know the dirty fucking dealings that were going on. All we know is in the public markets, Warren Buffett hasn't done too well in the past 25 fucking years, even though he's taken on a lot more risk than the S&P, a lot more risk, even though he still owns private companies in private equity, which means the S&P is not even an appropriate benchmark, so on and so forth. Which is fine. Look, he's done great. He's definitely credible, but he's not an analyst. He runs the money. He's not an analyst. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Anyway, for any of the doubting Debbies out there, Peter's consistent. He never gets anything right. That's why he's a great analyst. His prediction is the anti-prediction. Just inverse it to know the truth. Folks, this is what you got on YouTube. right? This is what you got on YouTube for the most part. Just read all this. This is funny. The problem with Peter Zeihan's analysis is that he's chock full of Peter Zeihan and short of analysis. Yeah, he likes himself a lot. He is the Jim Cramer of geopolitics. There you go. This is great. It's good to see that people see through this guy. What surprises me is that people still interview him. Well, my friend, I just told you why they interview him, because he's got a large following. So he's got a sucker list. That's the sucker list. So Professor G, Prof G, wants exposure to his sucker list, you see? That's why Prof G is even willing to pay to promote this video. He wants the sucker list and the suckers to come in. But it backfired on Professor G, Prof G. This guy's been saying the same thing for at least 10 years. So the key, folks, is this. This is the danger, because, and I mention this because it's a similar situation when I talk about things as a world-class, legitimate investment analyst and economic analyst. You see, people that are kind of low level and unsophisticated might tend to conflate what I say with during periods of warning and risk with maybe something like what a broken clock like Peter Schiff says. You're talking about two different universes, okay? These are guys, see, Peter is a narrative guy. He tells a story that doesn't change. That's a broken clock. That's not a real analyst. That's a guy selling a story. He's selling something. He's not an analyst. Because you know what? Things change. China did well 2 decades ago, right? It's not doing well now, and it's not going to do well for a while. You understand what I'm saying? Things change. The U.S. got into trouble during the financial crisis, but it recovered, right? You understand? That's a real analyst who's able to predict these things and know when the tide changes. You see? Peter Zeihan is not a real analyst. He's a narrative guy. I would call him a broken clock con man. And in fact, from what I've heard, the very small amount of things that I've heard from him, some of the things that come out of his mouth are shockingly wrong. Like, shockingly wrong. So it appears that what he does basically is he reads what's out there from Reuters, you know, what's out there being written, to have an idea what's going on with China. So what I'm saying is that, yeah, some of the things he says are correct, but it's known. It's already known. You may not know them because you're out of the loop, but it's known. No unique insight. The problem is that when Peter likes to throw in his little 2 cents is when he shows his ignorance and when he exaggerates everything, right? Remember, this is the guy that's been calling for a China collapse for 20 fucking years. And he guarantees this and guarantees that. In fact, I think he was guaranteeing that there's, like, Apple's not going to have any iPhones to sell. Everything's going to be shut down. You can watch the video and see for yourself. Something like that. I can't remember. Okay? Watch it and see for yourself. I haven't seen the video. I went through and clicked through, I think, the first couple of minutes or something. Let's go through now. I want to play the first little line here. Let's see, and maybe if they do a little intro, I want to let's hear what Professor Prof G have to say. Prof G, yo yo yo, Prof G, yo, you're in the flow. Fucking idiot.
I see you everywhere. Where am I seeing you? YouTube?
I'm on YouTube.
Okay. There you go. So let's. I want to hear that again. Let's hear that again.
I see you everywhere. Where am I seeing you? YouTube?
I'm on YouTube. We have a Patreon page, which is our primary distribution for subscribers. We're in a lot of places, but never.
You hear that?
TikTok. That'll never happen.
Hear that, folks? So Prof G sees him everywhere, so he wants to get him on because he wants to get the guy that's seen everywhere on. He doesn't care whether he's credible, you see. And look, if all these random people, I want to encourage you to spend time on this video going through the comments so you can really truly get a sense of the devastating comments, just completely exposing Peter Zeihan. Like, I can't recall ever seeing anything like this about anybody. Like, not even Peter Schiff. Okay, so really spend the time. I think you'll be glad you did. I think you're going to be laughing a lot, and it says a lot about not only Zeihan, how ridiculous the guy is, but it also says a lot about YouTubers. In the case of Prof G, like, you know, you look at the guy, he tells you he's a professor, okay, but why is he having this guy? He paid to promote his video, right? Obviously, if all these commenters know that Peter Zeihan is a fucking clown, is a contrarian indicator, how can this guy not know that? He doesn't care. He wants Zeihan's subscribers. He sees them everywhere. That means that people are going to know they're going to click on the video. All he cares is to get the views and the subscribers. You understand? That's what I mean by it says a lot about this guy. So let's hear this again.
I see you everywhere. Where am I seeing you? YouTube?
I'm on YouTube. We have a Patreon page, which is our primary distribution for subscribers. We're in a lot.
There you go. Mention the Patreon page, our primary distribution for subscribers. Who the fuck wants to pay for your ass? Patreon? Dude, you're not legit. Patreon? I got a Patreon. I'm a Patreon. Give me money in Patreon. You got a real company? Are you a real analyst? What the fuck, a Patreon? Yeah, Patreon. Yeah. Get the suckers, the dumb, low-hanging fruit on YouTube to give you money. Because they don't know the difference. They don't know. Oh, they do know that you're a fucking scammer. They do know that you're a fraud. You're saying all this fucking bullshit. You're a fraud, dude. You're calling yourself an analyst? No. You're a fraud. Let's get that clear. And you're on YouTube scamming people. Because you can't cut the mustard as a real analyst. Mr. Pseudointellectual. And by the way, the guy kind of looks like, I mean, he's got one of those faces. Well, we know who he's related to. I mean, you can tell that, right? But aside from that, to me, he kind of looks like, I don't know. He looks like he likes children. That's what he looks like anyway, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Kind of has that Bill Gates, Jared from Subway look, right? That Steve Mnuchin look. Something in the eyes. Right? You all know what I'm saying? I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of, whatever.
A lot of places, but never TikTok. That'll never happen.
You are worried about your being on TikTok?
Oh yeah, I would never do it. Whenever you have Facebook on your computer, even if it's not open, Facebook is capturing every keystroke on your computer.
Wow, you're so insightful. I believe I wrote an article and talked about that 15 years ago. I warned everyone about the keystroke thing. Duh. Wow. You fucking idiot. I guarantee you the guy's had Facebook in the past. Remember, folks, I'm the guy that was warning about Facebook before they were public. But anyway.
And they use that information to bundle you into like groups of roughly 10,000. And then they actively market you to scammers.
What do you think all these companies do? What do you think YouTube does? All of them do that. Fucking idiot.
Based on what sort of fraud they think you will fall for. But when they do it, they anonymize your data. People can still target you personally, but they don't have your name. TikTok doesn't anonymize. It's your name, it's your social security number, it's your entire credit history, and that gets sold.
Okay, I don't care.
Yeah,
Give me China, dude.
Why do you believe that? How do you? What are the dynamics that are setting up for China's collapse?
Well, let me give you the two big ones, and there's a lot of small ones. Number one, this is the most trade-dependent country in human history. They import 75 to 80% of their energy. They import 80% of the stuff that allows them to grow their own food. They are the world's largest importer of food. They import.
Anyway, I'm not going to listen to this fucking rambling fucking idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Anything that he says is common knowledge. His analysis and conclusions are fucking stupid. He doesn't understand how the communist government works, and this is why uh, he doesn't realize the communist government of China has an ability to contain things. As I've talked about before, there's no third party risk essentially in China. That's the key thing. That's the key uh, pro for a communist government. They don't have counterparty risk because the economy is state controlled. If you don't have counterparty risk, then you can control a crisis much better. But you can only do that for so long. Okay? Anyway, I'm not going to go on. I don't want this guy to get my fucking insight and use it. This guy, just please, I want to encourage you to listen to the video. Maybe you'll run across some really stupid things. I know you'll, well, I don't know how much you all know. But before you do that, read the comments. The guy's obviously a fucking clown. No doubt about it. But he's going to get all the interviews. He's an expert, right? Fucking idiot. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. What did I want to... Anything else here? I want to encourage you all to take a look at the if you haven't seen the Chat GPT analysis, read that. My track record. Okay. See, that's the thing. The thing is that let me just explain something to you guys. And let me guys see this video. This is an old video here. This is fucking classic. This is brilliant. Fucking brilliant. Nobody wants to watch it because it doesn't have. See, it's not gonna show up in the algorithm. People don't want the truth. They just want to. They want to click something that's a current topic of discussion. So here's the Grok. Or no, this is the Chat GPT, and so let me just explain something. By the way, and so the interesting thing here, the one thing that Grok 3 didn't do, okay, which this is one advantage of Chat GPT, is so until I fed into Grok the chapters that are on archive.org on my books, if you notice the wording, because this is a progression through Grok. I go through and there's several queries you have to kind of keep feeding it and educating it. But it said, it seems like he predicted it. He claims to have done this, right? So it's not definitive. Chat GPT comes out and says it. Yes, he did. Even though I don't have the exposure. I mean, so where's Grok, Chat GPT getting this? You see? I don't know. But you can see here, you can just read this. Maybe we'll talk about this because I haven't even really gone over it that much, but you just read this here. If you want to understand what happened in the financial crisis, you go through my material. You can just read this analysis and you'll get a pretty good idea. You can read the chapters. You don't watch some fucking stupid fictional movie that made heroes out of fund managers who didn't predict anything. The movie needs to be made about me. Before the crisis, during and after, what's happened to me. That's the real story. Maybe someday somebody will make some type of documentary. Not, it's probably doubtful, but so Chat GPT is let's see here. So here's where I'm adding a couple of chapters here. I didn't add the other chapter. I don't know, but so Chat GPT comes out and says, okay, they're going to review it based upon this criterion. Okay, accuracy, detail, comprehensiveness, actionable strategy. So it explains the methodology, and then explains what it's going to do. So Chat GPT picked these individuals. Okay, I later on add others based upon from what Grok 3 gave me. So here's the. I had to remove the bullet points because it makes the text too close together. So this is what I did. I described the U.S. housing market as the quote largest real estate bubble in the past 80 years. No one else did that, by the way. Driven by ultra low rates, irresponsible lending, anticipated that creeping inflation and distorted macroeconomic data were making deeper vulnerabilities. Correctly identified the end game: tightening credit, collapsing consumer spending, and a nationwide housing bust. Chapter 12 provided detailed investment strategies shorting subprime mortgage issuers, home builders, and notably Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac well before the broader market recognized the risk. See, they did the same thing as Grok. They averaged out my 30 to 35% overall drop in home prices with my selected regions, in other words, parts of California, Las Vegas, Southern Florida, which were 50 to 55%. They kind of made an average there to get this, I think. I don't know. I don't remember putting 20 to 40%. I could be wrong, but if I did, it was one time. But my prediction was actually 30 to 35%, and in at least one or two times I mentioned 35%. So you can see here, projected a 20 to 40% drop in home prices, which materialized in line with the 35% forecast 5 years later. Nobody else even came out with that, but anticipated the housing collapse, subprime defaults, SEQ effects from securitization, and macro spillovers into the broader financial system. So notice that no one else even came close to discussing the subprime defaults and the securitization, the spillover into the broader financial system, in addition to the leverage from the exotic derivatives, by the way, FYI. Predicted at the bottom of the Dow around 6,500. And of course, boom, motherfucking boom. So here's a comparison with other early predictors. Dean Baker, Meredith Whitney's on here, but Dean Baker is the weakest on here, one of the weakest. He didn't do anything. But Dean Baker, now don't be fooled by his last name. Dean Baker is related to all these other guys. He's also an establishment economist, so he's going to get some clout for all those reasons. But he wrote an article in 2002 basically talking about there was a housing bubble. And as I mentioned, there was not a housing bubble in 2002. There was, certainly some heightened housing activity, no doubt about it, but there was no fucking bubble. Bubble, understand. When you say bubble, that means it implies a unsustainable increase. So in other words, when you're saying bubble, I mean a bubble can only stay a bubble so long. You understand? So that implies that it's going to burst, pretty soon. A couple of years, maybe 3 years max. 4 years, absolutely, I would say. He didn't talk about the mortgage-backed securities. He didn't talk about anything specific. He just basically said housing bubble. No financial crisis, nothing. Housing bubbles, understand, are normal. They're normal. They come in the economy every 20 to 30 years. Okay? It's normal. So, no big deal. He didn't predict the financial crisis. It's fact. Now, I didn't challenge ChatGPT here because it was too long. I'll do it at some other point. I've done it, I think, with Grok 3. Clearly, Robert Shiller did not predict it at all. His book. So basically, they're going by his book, which was published in 2000. Okay, I mean, come on. I mean, that was published basically right after the dot-com implosion began. Okay, and they republished it in 2005. Okay, it's kind of like broken clock. No, sorry, no. So, and by the way, I encourage you all to look at all of these publications, all of these, the information, the so-called evidence that has attributed to their predictions, and compare with mine, and you'll see nobody is in the same universe as me, not remotely close, even in the same fucking universe. Okay. So, and look, Michael Burry, Steve Eisman, what's the publication statement, The Big Short. I mean, come on. That's that. Are you fucking serious? A fucking movie? You see that? So that's a joke. Okay. Why do I stand out? Early warning. Published a detailed crisis thesis in 2006, years before the crash. Macro and micro. Couple deep structural analysis with real investment playbooks, including shorting Fannie Freddie, which nobody did at all. Nobody thought that was going to get taken down. But me. Quantified predictions, estimated magnitude of home price drop, timing of market lows, breadth of coverage. And by the way, these excerpts don't even include the material on trade, wealth and income disparity, other things. It's very selected towards the real estate portion and the investment portion related to that. FYI. At some point, maybe I'll do the trade stuff and the healthcare stuff. What is it? Breadth of coverage. Tackled inflation data gaming, trade deficits, demographic vulnerabilities, not just housing. Longevity. Predictions later borne out by housing data, Fed trends, and market movements. In contrast, these guys didn't cut the mustard. And so you can see lacks formal peer-reviewed or institutional validation. Absence from the Federal Crisis Inquiry Commission's formal hearings. And I put here, see end of this piece for a reassessment by ChatGPT, because they're not aware that I was actually involved in the FCIC. So I clarify that with ChatGPT, and you can see that at the end of this, FYI. Okay. Criticized for claims of media blackballing, though evidence supports restricted dissemination. There you go. Still, his detailed, early, and strategy-oriented foresight places him amongst the most prescient and practical analysts of the crisis. Okay. Though less publicly visible, his track record arguably surpasses or matches that of peers. I mean, come on, there's nobody close. This is the first analysis I've given to ChatGPT. I haven't challenged it, so I will in the future. I will challenge it. I'll say, well, look at his predictions, compare them with Schiff's predictions specifically. You understand? They're just going by what others have said in the media. They're not. It's actually not comparing things specifically. When you do that, and you say, hey, raise the bar to this level, then you'll see, I'm sure ChatGPT will come to that. That's why I said you have to understand, you have to already know what's going on in order to challenge these AI effectively. If you don't, you can be fooled, you see. So, though less publicly visible, his track record arguably surpasses or matches that of peers in both scope and actionability. He remains one of the most complete and accurate predictors of the 2008 financial crisis. And once again, anyone out there who's hearing this, and you can tell anybody, tell the big guys that got all the viewers, he's got this guy who's willing to bet any amount of money, he's got the track record. Okay? You understand? The best track record of the financial crisis. Let's go. Put your money where your mouth is, motherfuckers, or shut your fucking mouths. Well, I don't want to hear your dumb logic. If you're going to give me your dumb logic, give me the confidence. Back it by confidence. Put the money there. You understand? If I'm going to be subjected to your stupidity, I want you to lose money at the same time. You understand? Don't subject me to your faulty logic, your confirmation bias, and your stupidity unless I'm going to make money from it. I'm not going to be tortured without getting something in return. Boom, motherfucking boom. Can anybody stand up to me, by the way, do you think? What do you think, guys? What do you think? Who's going to stand up to me and fucking still be standing when I'm done? Boom! Okay, so would you like excerpts or deeper quotes compared to Schiller, Burry, or Rubini's language? Yes. Okay, so here's me. So they quote me. I said, the U.S. real estate market has been artificially inflated by ultra-low interest rates and predatory lending. This bubble is the largest in 80 years, and when it bursts, the fallout will devastate consumers, financial institutions, and even the global economy. Boom, motherfucking boom. Okay? You can just read all this. Robert Shiller, the Nobel Prize winning economist, academic and data driven, but less focused on practical impacts or triggers. Dean Baker, quantitative but generalized without actionable specifics. There you go. Mike Status, subprime mortgage-backed securities have created a time bomb. Banks and investors are grossly underestimating the risk embedded in these assets. The first sign of trouble will be rising default rates, triggering massive losses in financial institutions. Boom, motherfucking boom. Noel Rubini, language broadly macroeconomic and less granular. Okay, so he said, global imbalances and excessive risk-taking have created a fragile financial system. The unwinding of the housing boom could spark a chain reaction leading to a severe recession. Okay, that's kind of general. Notice what I said. Massive losses in financial institutions. Remember, my book was called America's Financial Apocalypse. No book, by the way. This is from a speech to the IMF. Michael Burry from Private Memos. Private's not good enough. It's not, you're hiding it. We don't know. But anyway, we'll see. Michael Burry says, I'm seeing housing loans being securitized into trenches that are entirely mispriced. Once home prices stop rising, these securities will implode. Okay. That's not enough, though. Go through my chapters and look at the detailed analysis. You understand what I'm saying, folks? Okay. Mike said this. When the housing market crashes, it will lead to a severe recession with job losses, rising bankruptcies, and stock market declines. The Dow could fall to 6,500. Holy fuck. People may start to call me Mike Crystal Ball Stathis. Mike Crystal Ball Stathis. Because you all do know the Dow bottomed 3 years later, March 10th, 2009, 6,547. I mean, that single call alone, that one call alone is worthy of lifetime achievement status. Because nobody makes this call. Nobody's going to make that call. How the fuck are you going to know that? Nobody makes that call. Think about it. And no one's ever made that call. Just like no one's ever recommended in a book to short stocks. Not only did I do it, the strategy was fucking hugely profitable. And if you're an institutional investor, you don't need to short the stocks. You have access at that point. I think everyone can do it now, but you have access to credit default swaps. You have access to all types of derivatives. You can leverage that and make 10, 15, 20 times your money. Okay? Peter Schiff. The economy is a house of cards. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Housing bubble will collapse, leading to recession, blah, 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 blah. Banking crisis and a collapse of the dollar. Okay, Peter, you had the opportunity. You wrote a book. Let's see what your book says. Once again, I encourage you can find this chump's book for free online. Just do a little search, PDF. You'll find it. You'll read it. Nothing. You're not going to see no data. It's political bandwagging, gold pumping, fear mongering, open-ended horseshit. The same thing he's been saying for 25 years. He's saying the same thing now. Okay. Language: alarmist and general, appealing to public fears. Wow. So this is interesting because I didn't get this from Grok 3. Grok 3. Right, did not take it to that level. So this is what I'm saying. There are pros and cons to each of these AI bots or whatever you want to call them. Okay? It's interesting. You see that? Because ChatGPT nails Schiff. They're calling him a fucking alarmist, a doomsayer, fear-mongering fucking clowns, what they're saying basically. Appealing to public fears. In other words, taking advantage of people who are scared, exploiting them. You know, kind of like I don't know, what a con man would do, kind of like what a scammer would do, exploiting people, right? Their fears. Don't you think? Anyone agree? Everyone agrees. Dean Baker, the collapse of the housing prices will create a drag on consumption, potentially leading to a recession. So notice, folks, notice they're saying, okay, housing recession. That's normal. When you have a housing bubble that bursts, it leads to a recession. Okay? That's not anything insightful. Mike Stathis, investors should start shorting home builders, subprime lenders, and mortgage guarantors like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Treasury bonds will offer safe haven as markets unravel. Analysis provides specific and profitable strategies that align with the crisis trajectory. Language direct with actionable steps for investors. Boom, motherfucking boom. Nobody fucking can touch me. You all see that now? This is what I'm saying. You got to understand what was going on back then, what everyone else was saying and writing. Okay? Namely, writing. We want to see a very detailed treatment on this. You can't just fucking blabber your mouth. You know? So. The credit default swap market offers, this is from the Big Short. I don't care what the Big Short, that's fucking, no. See, because the fact is, Michael Burry, okay, he could have, let's say he didn't really know what's going on. He made a bet, and then maybe he started to get more confident on this bet after he read my book. We don't know. I don't know, right? You don't know. But one thing's for sure, Michael Burry did not know we were going to have a big blowout. If he did, he wouldn't have shorted just the junk bonds. He would have shorted even an investment grade, right? Fannie, Freddie. He would have shorted the banks like I recommended, the home builders like I recommended. You understand? Now, and not only that, I even called the bottom in the Dow. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, come on. There's no comparison. Here we go. Conclusion. You can see the names here. Stathis excels in actionability and depth of analysis, surpassing others in combining precise forecasts with profitable strategies. So here I tell ChatGPT to add these people, and this I get these names from Grok 3 previous analysis. So you can see here we've got a combination of the fund managers and celebrity media clowns, and some economists as well. Okay. So, added these guys here. So here's an expanded table of comparison, and so you can see me, Schiff, Whitney, and even this is it's not even, I haven't challenged. I'll do it later, but this is the first run through. So you can see, for me, accuracy highly precise. Nobody else got highly precise. Detail, root causes and triggers. Nobody got that else, right? Comprehensiveness, systemic. Actionable recommendations. Shorting housing-related stocks, investment in bonds. There's more as well. It's not covering it all. But anyway, you can just go through that for yourself. Accuracy. Mike Stathis, among the most accurate, predicting housing crash, its financial fallout, and broader economic recession, including precise targets, Dow 6,500. Steve Keen and Ann Pettifor also correctly highlighted debt-driven crisis, but lacked specificity, timing, and scope. So they didn't even talk about the mortgage-backed securities and all this other stuff. They just talk about debt, which doesn't have anything. And no actionable strategies, nothing applicable. It's funny, by the way, I was been in contact with Steve Keen, and I offered him $50,000 if he can prove that his financial crisis forecast is more accurate, detailed, comprehensive than mine. So I'll take you up on that. So he's like kept delaying it. Oh, I've got this. Oh, I've got that. See, because Steve Keen thinks that he's been banned. Now Steve Keen is of course related to the same people. So that's why I say, like, if you are got the same right bloodline, yeah. Even if you are, because Keen is more of a he's not establishment. He's kind of one of these more rogue guys. So he's not going to get the establishment status. But guess what? If he's related to the same guys, so he's going to get some coverage. That's what I'm talking about. Steve Keen was even interviewed by Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman. You see why? Well, you know why. I've talked about it before. You see that? My point is that he kept delaying it. Okay, you got something. Okay, by June. Well, I sent Steve Keen a grok analysis that showed him me in comparison, and it's been a month, about a month now. Haven't heard from him. Nothing. Zero. So you can go on Steve Keen's YouTube channel and ask him, hey, you want to touch base with Stathis because he's still waiting. You see, because here's a central issue. See, what I would have liked to have done was to, in my opinion, Steve Keen he wasn't even in the same universe. He was writing about shit he even mentioned in 1995. Steve Keen's basically, there's too much debt. Huge debt, you're gonna have a crisis. Sorry, Steve, that's not predicting the financial crisis. Okay, but my point is that I want to get with Keen and say, okay, you think you were banned? I'm the guy that was banned. Take a look at my predictions. Take a look at the importance of my stuff. I could have helped a lot of people, right? Not only that, take a look at the comprehensiveness, trade, this, that, and I was banned. I've got no coverage, okay? So now, Steve, let's ask why exactly that was so. Let's think about that. Steve, what's going on? You understand? So, you can read here. Strength to status, unique blend of macro and micro. There you go. Accessible predictions. His advice was designed for retail and institutional investors alike. Highly accurate calls. His projected Dow bottom, 6,500, was remarkably close to the actual low in 2009. You can see limitations. Well, of course, this is not anything under my control. I was banned by all media. Of course, I don't have exposure. Okay. So here I input some of the publicly available articles that were written after the book, during the crisis, after the crisis, and you can see these here. And for the doubting Thomases out there, I think all these articles were also published on Seeking Alpha, so don't think I made it up or anything. So this incorporates those articles you can see here. He predicted 35% median home price. Table. Unmatched. Boom. You can just go through this yourself, folks. You see. Final verdict. Pre-crisis. Stathis outperformed nearly all peers. Now this is what I'm wondering. Nearly, right? That's not. I mean, clearly I outperformed everybody. There's no doubt about that. We'll go into that later. I'll challenge it later on. But this is the first pass through. I added a couple of things. I'll go into it in the future. Post crisis, his predictions were validated by observed market moves. Investment calls yielded replicable profits, not just theoretical insights. Claims remain materially unchallenged, even with financial incentives on the table. This refers to, for about 12 years, I offered reward to anybody who can show that anybody in the world, in other words, doesn't have to be you. You can take a look at anyone's track record. If you can show that they match or they beat my track record on the financial crisis, I will give you money. That's the one way I had to show, hey, I'm serious about this. Let's fucking go. Anybody in the world, let's go. Right? Put your money where your mouth is. Initially, back in 2009 or 10, it was about $10,000. I raised it to 50, and increased it all the way up to 1 million. And in that case, I actually gave 2-to-1 odds. So you risk 500,000, and if you win, you get 1 million. No takers ever. Ever. FYI. That's pretty powerful. You're not going to see anybody ever do that. You know why? Because this is held to court. I can be taken to court on this. You understand? So, just like I had balls of steel, damn well confident, knowing that Fannie and Freddie were going to go fucking bankrupt, which is what happened. The government had to bail them out, right? And I'm not talking about the subprimes. That's fucking small change. That's peewee bullshit. Of course, I mentioned that. I'm saying even the Fannie and Freddie, just as confident as I was to recommend shorting that shit, the same thing, the same confidence I had to come out and back this shit with money. You all understand the issue here. You understand the level. We're not talking about just someone who's confident, because Peter Zeihan is confident, but he's always fucking wrong. I'm confident, and I'm right a lot of times. I'm not going to say always, but when I'm coming out like this, you better believe I'm going to be right just about always. When I'm coming out, backing shit, coming out, putting shit in books, what does that say? What does that say? Right? Nobody else is going to do that. Okay. So, Chat GPT saying, well, you want me to dive deeper? And I'm like, yes. I don't even give it any specifics. I don't lead it anywhere. Just say yes. Okay, go ahead, dive deeper. Okay. Okay, what aspects would you like to dive deeper? Let me know. Okay, please complete the following tests. So what I did here was I actually, one by one, I cut and paste each of these to input into ChatGPT to see what it had to say. So these are ChatGPT's analysis, their recommendations. I'll say, okay, so the first one, here you go. Detailed analysis. So I didn't even, this is ChatGPT's recommendation. So here we go. Detailed analysis of stats predictions from his books and articles, focusing on specific timing, metrics, or investment calls. And there you have it. You can just read it for yourself. Take a look, folks. Boom. See, I'm the only person, by the way, you'll notice earlier when all these other guys talk about a housing burst from a housing bubble and leading to a recession, I'm the only person that says severe recession. Severe. Okay? And the subtitle of my book, How to Survive and Profit from America's Next Depression. The next Great Depression, right? The next Great Depression. Which I'm not going to get into that discussion, but that's what happened. And the response from Washington, from the Federal Reserve, to mask this depression is why we've gotten ourselves into another situation, right? All these things have ramifications. You can sit back and do nothing, for the most part, which is what was done in the first Great Depression, and you can see the results then, or you can try and manipulate it, which is what was done with the massive bailout, massive stimulus, right, and then the quantitative easing, right, 0% interest rates. You see, so. But of course, America still has not corrected its fundamental issues because they haven't closed the borders and they haven't fixed trade, which is why I wrote all these things in that book, you see, because America's still in a period. This period began. This began with 9/11, 2001. Or you could say March 2000 with the beginning of the dot-com burst. But that period began everything, okay? And that's so we're still in that period, by the way. And I say that because the financial crisis came and went, but it took you know 15 years essentially, and there's permanent losses, permanent damage. Um, but the economy was impacted for a very, very long time. Many people never recovered. They lost their homes, they lost their jobs, they lost their retirement, right? Because that's the way the system's designed. The modern financial system is designed to make sure the big guys always win. They pump up the system with credit. The Federal Reserve pumps out all the money, more speculative activity, bubbles created. They leverage everything, make all the money, right? And when the blow up occurs, there's no clawbacks. Wall Street doesn't have any clawbacks. They get all their money that they made through manipulation of the system, defrauding people. And who pays is working and middle class. It's exactly what happened in the financial crisis, okay? That's how the system's designed. So you can just read this here. And so this next is, once again, this is a recommendation from Grok, so I asked him to go ahead and do that. So you can see it compares me to all these other people. So, key insights. Retail investor accessibility, best. My staff is clear recommendation for stocks, treasuries, and equities re-entry. Good. John Husband. Husband, of course, I've exposed this guy. Complete fucking disaster. Um, this guy, he completely blew up his fund. He became a perma bear. He didn't know when to shift gears. And he went from like 3 or 4 billion under management to like a few hundred million because he's been bearish ever since the financial crisis. Complete disaster. Steve Eisman, I exposed this guy as well. But anyway. So they put here profitability highest John Paulson and Kyle Bass, huge returns. Strong, my status. This is actually not accurate because um, the recommendations that I made, so in other words, these guys were in CDS trades. You can leverage these to make a lot, right? I didn't recommend CDS because why? Because they were not available for retail investors. You can only certain investors, institutional, have access to credit default swaps. I think that's changed now. So my point is that my research enabled anybody, if they're institutional, to engage in that. You see? So that's not really accurate, but Chat GPT is not going to know that. They're not going to understand that. That's one of the nuances you got to, that's why I say you really need to know a lot about a topic that you are inputting into these AI because there could be some problems, and this is a good example of that. It's a minor thing, but still. So you see, this is what I'm talking about in terms of a inconsistency with these AI bots. Here they point out this is right, 30 to 35% decline in home prices. Right. It doesn't mention though, and I said a much larger decline, 50 to 55% in certain regions like northern Southern California, Las Vegas, Southern Florida. Doesn't mention that here. Maybe it would later on, but and you can see that housing from peak to trough declined by 33%. So I mean, nobody in the world got this but me. That's 5 years later, by the way. That's what you call crystal ball for fucking casting. Anybody want to say I'm not professional, not credible because of that? You stupid. Look at the fucking data. Look at the facts. I got the meat. I got the beef, bitch. Boom, motherfucking boom. So, here's additional countrywide Fannie, Freddie, Lehman. Bear Stearns, and I actually predicted both of these would go under, not in the book, but in a couple of interviews, and also, uh, well, the Bear Stearns, I was supposed to be on Alex Jones the weekend before, but of course, Alex Jones didn't want to have me on because I recommended people to buy gold ETFs so they would be able to trade in and out for the liquidity, not to buy physical gold. Alex Jones made all his money from gold dealers. That's why I got banned. That's why the alternative media has banned me. You see, because they're all gold pumpers. They make all their money selling fucking gold. FYI. So, and quite frankly, I'm glad I was banned by alternative media. They're a bunch of fucking crackpots and scammers. Back then, I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that. Take a look, folks. You can read it all. So, the only criticism of me is I don't have widespread recognition. Like, yeah, I mean, I was banned. You see? But notice, yeah, because these people are all related. They're part of the fucking cabal. You understand? So this is good here because I had to actually challenge Grok 3 to let it know that, hey, just because I don't have the exposure doesn't mean I'm not credible. I had to explain to it what happened to me. Here, ChatGPT automatically knows that recognition does not equate to accuracy. Statist's detailed and documented predictions are verifiable and outperform many widely credited forecasts. Actually, all of them. I think it's saying many because it wants to play it safe, I would say. Because you can see here clearly nobody comes close to my track record. So here you say criticism, exaggerated uniqueness. Okay. Statist claims he was the only person to predict the crisis in detail. Others such as Schiff, see, you can tell when he says others such as Schiff, Whitney, and Keene also made prescient warning. That's not true. This is absolutely false. You all know this, right? This is. I mean, if you're gonna claim that others don't, these are like the three worst. I mean, come on, fucking joke, right? So, rebuttal. While others predicted aspects of the crisis, Statist uniquely combined breadth, multiple asset classes, depth, quantified predictions, and timing, precision. So this is another attribute of ChatGPT. So you'll notice that it takes the standard argument, the standard criticism, right? And then it actually goes a step further. So this is very impressive. Grok 3 does not do this. The only way Grok 3 was able to conclude this, that actually, yeah, I was the only one. Because look, for Grok 3, I actually had to raise the bar and say, hey, look, you have to consider that this is such a huge, unprecedented crisis of just crazy scope and magnitude and severity that you have to make sure there's accuracy and breadth and detail and da-da. So you have to explain to Grok for the need to do this. Chat GPT, I didn't have to do that. You see? So there you go. So you can see while less publicized than others, the verifiable accuracy of his forecast supports his claims. I'm the big swinging dick. Boom, motherfucking boom. I mean, folks, ask yourself, if you want to understand, if you want to realize, convince yourself that all these people out there are frauds, contact them and say, hey, here it is. This guy's been saying this all along. He's been banned. It's been confirmed through independent analysis. Grok, ChatGPT, it's saying this. I'm the top guy, the expert, and I'm still banned. Why would you want to interview me? Have me on, right? They're not going to respond to you. You won't get a response. Do yourself a favor. Do me a favor. Make a list of 20, 30 of these motherfuckers and contact them. Email them, and you'll hear nothing. Guaranteed. You'll see. I already know, but you need to do it. Convince yourself. Do it. Okay. So we have core predictions here, timing, actionable strategies. I don't know why they took Peter Schiff. I don't know why I didn't. Okay, Schiff, Dalio, example. So I didn't. I meant just as an example. I guess they picked Schiff as a first person. Um, I mean that's a joke. Schiff didn't predict anything. It's fucking, fucking clown. So, but you can just see. Um, okay, so you can see now for all these other people, just continue with tables, tables, and tables, and so this. I guess this is a summary table here. Breadth of predictions, precision of timing, profitability, accessibility, and so here it's not being actually. Um, it did not even give me credit for the. If you look at chapter 17, I don't know if it was entered here. I think it was, but I discuss the numerous areas, not only the precious metals, but the travel leisure, pharmaceuticals, telemedicine. Nobody. I mean, come on. I'm in another fucking universe on that alone. But here it's just focusing on the housing stuff because I didn't talk about CDS. CDS is not accessible to retail investors. So I take offense to this. I will challenge ChatGPT and educate it here later on that. You see, here it just basically, these guys, they're fund managers, so they made money on CDS. You understand? So even to put them there is not even credible because they didn't predict nothing. So that's kind of strange. It doesn't understand that difference. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You can see, I come on top. No one is even fucking close. I should be 10 across the board. Well, no accessibility. Accessible. I'm not. I can't help that. So just go through and read. So take a look. Um, okay, so let's get to the conclusion here. Go through this on your own. But as a first pass without like any challenge, I only challenged it at the end about the FCIC, but I didn't challenge it in terms of comparing me to these other guys and some. So as a first pass, actually, ChatGPT did a good job. Good job, yeah, I think so. Um, so here I entered in the WAMU SEC complaint. That's also public on archives.org. When I entered in the complaint to the SEC about WAMU, so you can read what it says about that actually. So implications for expertise. Strengths highlighted by the SEC complaint. Attention to detail. This complaint was filed, uh, you know, not long after WAMU was seized by the OTS. So it was like, I don't know, October or something, 2008, during the financial crisis, basically, still. Stathis' forensic level analysis of WAMU's financial disclosures reflects a deep understanding of balance sheet risks and financial market structures. Risk identification. The complaint demonstrates his foresight in identifying hidden risks within the banking sector well before they became publicly apparent. Practical advocacy. His direct engagement with the SEC suggests a commitment to transparency and systemic reform, distinguishing him from forecasters who primarily critique without actionable follow up. Weaknesses. Limited public awareness. Once again, I can't, Of course, I'm banned, right? I'm fucking banned. They want to make sure and get me out of the picture. Just like kind of like the mafia wants to make sure and get the white man in the Western world out of the picture. You understand? And I'm a white man, by the way. In this case, I'm the white man exposing the fraud on Wall Street, exposing corporate America's free trade scam, right, which is passed by the crooks in Washington. You understand what I'm saying? Get the white man out of the way. That's what the mafia wants. And get the whistleblowers out of the way. Get the real experts out of the way so we can take over the country, right, and make sure and defraud everybody. You understand? Everybody understand what's going on now, right? That's the problem when you have people, you've got a mafia that controls everything, and their interests are not in alignment with the best interests of America. They place another country as a priority above America, and they have no moral compass. They want to defraud everybody. You understand? I mean, nobody, there's nobody that's got the dirt on the mafia like me. There ain't nobody that knows what's going on better than me. Because I've lived through this shit. And I can expose it all. Should I start a fucking podcast every day to go over this shit? To focus on the mafioso guys? To show the world what's going on? Maybe I should do that. I got nothing to fucking lose and nothing but time. Let me think about that. I would definitely do that if somebody did the busy work. Somebody, were to start their own podcast and, be there to interview me and do all the administrative stuff. That'd be much better. But to do it all, I don't know if I'm going to do that. So this is for the WAMU complaint that I filed with the SEC. The conclusion is the inclusion of the WAMU SEC complaint in evaluating Stathis' expertise solidifies his position as a practical, detailed, and timely forecaster during the 2008 financial crisis. This action reinforces his credibility and distinguishes him from many peers who were either overly general, late to their calls, or focused solely on academic insights. Okay. This is the FCIC. I challenge ChatGPT here. The criticism was, well, he wasn't involved in the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission as one of the. You can go read that above, but I note here and I input a link to the articles on my website showing the emails. So let's see what ChatGPT has to say. Context. According to Stathis, he was contacted by the FCIC during their investigation into the 2008 financial crisis. He alleges that his views, particularly those critical of the systemic failures and self-serving behavior of influential entities, were unwelcome. Despite being contacted, he was not invited to testify formally before Congress or the committee. And I mentioned the reason why is because once you testify before Congress, that's public record. So I would be telling the world about the fucking mafia and how they never fucking go to jail and how they're going to continue to fuck the system because they control everything. That's why. That's what they were afraid of, by the way. Because guess who runs the whole FCIC? The same fucking tribe. Okay? It's a kangaroo court. It's what it was. It's not a real fucking investigation. It was a phony investigation to make it look like they were really looking into the causes to appease the people, just like the Warren Commission, which was created after JFK was assassinated. That was supposed to have done to find out what happened. It was a kangaroo court. Okay, same thing with the FCIC. They don't want to expose it. So evidence. Stathis provided emails from the FCIC as proof of his interaction. He claims that his answers did not align with the narrative that the commission aimed to present, which he alleges was designated to shield powerful interests from scrutiny. Implications. Institutional acknowledgement. The fact that the FCIC reached out to Stathis demonstrates an acknowledgement of his expertise, albeit informally. This partially addresses the critique of, quote, lack of formal validation, since being contacted indicates recognition of his insights. Contentious perspective. Stathis' critique of systemic corruption and his unwillingness to conform to a preferred narrative might explain the absence of a formal testimonial invitation. Of course, that's what I fucking said. His stance aligns with a broader theme of independent forecasters clashing with institutional narratives. Example: Steve Keen's critiques on neoclassical economics. So I mentioned, he's seen as kind of a non-establishment economist, but he does get featured, right? Why? Well, you know why. So that's what I talked about earlier, and I've been talking about before. Is I said, you know what? If I were related to Steve Keen and Joe Rogan and Peter Schiff, I would have gotten some coverage, even though what I had to say, my forecasts were not what they wanted to hear with the establishment, but I would have gotten some. Okay, I know this because I know how it works. I know the deal, but I had the double whammy going for me. I'm not related, and I presented the inconvenient truth that threatened their fucking bank account. Okay. So, this is the disgusting thing. Meredith Whitney testified to the FCIC. She did nothing. She did nothing. She's a fucking joke. See, so you can see Steve Keen limited recognition from U.S. institutions. You see, because he doesn't present the establishment narrative, and they don't want to hear from him. You see, now I don't know much about his narrative, his research. I don't know, but he's not an establishment guy. So simply for that fact, he's going to be alternative media. But at least he's media. He gets somewhere. I got nowhere. And my crisis forecasts are, there's nobody that can come fucking close to mine. Okay? Clearly. And Steve Keen had nothing. He was theoretical. He had zero forecasts for investors, to help investors, right? So I'm saying I got zero. Even today I got zero. Why is that? And none of these fucking clowns talked about any of the things I talked about. Political correctness, right? Affirmative action, illegal aliens, the trade issue, wealth and income disparity, right? The pension crisis, America's healthcare crisis. Think about that. Think about that, folks. None of these fucking clowns, not just this list, all these guys, none of these guys can fucking come close to me. That's fact. It's proven. It's written. Nobody can take that away from me. Because it's printed in a book, published in a book, timestamp. You can ban me, okay. But guess what? I got those books. And that was back when I was a junior guy. Okay? 20 fucking years ago. But I proved back then, even then, I was a big swinging dick. So now, I don't know, what am I? The Grand Poobah, big swinging dick. The Imperial, big swinging dick. And I'm still banned. You understand? So you can see here, both Stathis and Keen faced institutional pushback due to their critical perspectives. But of course, look, Keen came nowhere even remotely close to the same universe as me. His focus was on theoretical. He's an economist, talks about debt, okay? But the commonality here is that what we both had to say was too critical, you see? But still Keen got plenty of media coverage. He doesn't think he got enough. He didn't get mainstream, right? I got zero. Why is that? You understand? Meredith Whitney's work gained institutional acceptance. Yeah, that's why she was wrong about everything. She failed at everything. Why? Folks, she got promoted because she's one of them. Okay? She's one of them. She's a complete fucking airhead dildo. I wrote articles about it. I made videos about it. You can see for yourself. She did zero. In fact, probably the worst of all of them, because she was positioned 2007. She writes a research report October. That was a year after I wrote America's Financial Apocalypse. All that fucking detail. What does she come out with? Oh, well, Citigroup may have to raise more capital or cut their dividend. What? Fucking stupid? She's a Wall Street analyst focusing on the financial system? And I'm talking about a fucking financial apocalypse? You understand? For that reason alone, she's a fucking idiot. And yet, you understand what I'm talking about now. This is where it's important, folks. Like I'm saying, you have to really know what's going on to really see the fraud and the injustice that occurred to me, and explains what's going on. And ultimately it means you all are getting fucked. Not just the situation with me. You're continuously getting fucked. This is the system you live in. This is why people don't even know what the fuck is going on. They think they do, but they don't. They're getting a bunch of horse shit. It's extremely rare to get anything credible out of the media. And when I say media, I'm talking all media. Okay? You're not hearing anything what's going on in healthcare. No, you're out of you can't talk about it. You understand? People don't know what the fuck is going on. You have to be a virtual expert in many areas to really have an idea what's going on. Because if you're not, you're going to get your information from what's out there. Okay? And what's out there is, remember, it's agenda driven. Okay? That's why if the Americans understood what was going on truly in their country, in their healthcare system, from Wall Street, they'd be rioting on the fucking streets. But they keep them dumbed down, and distracted. Okay? So, I want to encourage you guys, go through those analyses. I will continue to make more and more. Um, and of course, this is limited. I didn't input the healthcare material. There's a lot of stuff. I didn't input the trade material. Didn't input the wealth and income disparity material. But I did in Grok. There's plenty of analysis. Once again, the links in Grok, they don't come up. That means it hasn't been published yet on my website. Those will be published in the next 2 weeks. There's probably only about 3 or 4 of them that are not published on that. Okay. That's it.